Welcome to Just in Our Minds. I am Justin, and I'm here with my guest, me. So today we're doing another solo podcast. I had a friend that should have been here today, great guest, but his wife's getting ready to have a baby right now. So they're getting ready to have a baby, so congratulations to them. I hope all that goes well. Once out of the month, I wanted to do a solo podcast anyways, and so something that our producer and some of our guests and listeners have wanted to understand is like more about me and some questions. So more of like an interview towards me. So we have a list of questions. Some I ran through AI to have them a little bit of an adjustment for the podcast. But we have a list of questions that we'll go through, and I'm sure I'll throw some tangents here and there throughout the podcast. You ready?
Yeah.
Cool.
In what ways are you still negotiating with a past version of yourself?
So I think this year, if you look into this whole, is it the Chinese New Year or the Chinese archetypes of the animals and whatnot? This year was the year of the snake, and the year of the snake is talking about shredding layers, and then we're moving into the year of the horse. I didn't realize, I was unconscious about. I had one of my therapists told me that I had survivor's guilt. So I was stuck holding on to old relationships, friendships, things like that maybe didn't serve me the same way they should have. So for me, in the last few years, I've been holding on to my old life while holding my hand towards my new life, and it's been stretching me thin in both directions. So being able to have the self-awareness of letting go of toxic relationships and toxic environmental factors and different things that may be correlated to your old life and rather than your new goals, it's been very fruitful to realize that I can, if I want to plant some seeds, I can move to new soil to plant them, and I don't have to have the anchors of my past lives and my old life weigh me down. So I feel like with myself and a lot of other people, they have a problem with being present because they're so trapped with the ideas of who they were or who they used to be, or who an old version of themselves keeps trying to make them. And so for this year in general, I've been able to cut ties with a lot of those things and realize that they were just anchors holding me back. In business, friendships, and just overall like the spirituality of who you are. And those kind of things I will say the last 2 years have been some of the hardest years of my life, but it's given me a better relationship with God and myself. And that's something that's missing. I believe if you don't believe in God or whatever, I kind of get it. If you believe in higher power, whatever that is, you believe in something. So there's three things I think successful people believe in: either themselves, God, or some sort of higher purpose. And so you need one or all of them. And so I think if you can't find purpose within yourself, then I suggest finding purpose within the Lord, or your family or whatever may be in that aspect. But yeah, cut ties with your old self. It's okay to move on and create better things, and just know that the grass is only green where you water it. There's no plot of land with better grass than the ones you nourish.
Awesome. What part of your identity feels earned rather than inherited?
Oh, I didn't look at all these questions, by the way. That's a good one. I would say that although the grit and strength has been built over time and I train myself to be a workhorse, I think emotional intelligence isn't necessarily something that's been the most sought after thing throughout my immediate family. Although I always say they're good people, they try their best. A lot of people tend to lash out or they project outward. So for me to build the emotional intelligence and not be a victim in my own life constantly and thinking the world was always against me and that I was this small version in a bigger, we are small, we're a speck on a floating, like an organic spaceship. But beside that, I think the biggest thing is emotional intelligence, being able to move out of my hometown and not constantly paint myself into this box of like, I was like, a lot of people called me a demon child growing up, and it wasn't because I was an actual demon. It's just because I didn't understand and I was a wild boy. But like, so then you start hearing these things, and it's so easy to paint this narrative for your own self and your own life. So just being able to see myself for who I am creating, and realizing that I don't need to fist fight everybody, or I don't need to be this fighter. I don't need to show people who I am constantly. It's like once you start having self-respect, then you don't need to show the world who you are. You can just authentically be yourself. And it's a big part of that, and I think something that's missing in our culture nowadays is more emotional intelligence. So I would say emotional intelligence.
So that's actually a good segue into this next section titled Struggle, Pain, and Growth. What kind of suffering shaped you the most and why?
I say what kind of suffering shaped me the most is I never realized that I was, and this may sound a little narcissistic, but I never realized I was a brighter light in some dark rooms. And for me, early on, I didn't have the most self-worth. I didn't always get the most positive reinforcement, or at least I don't remember it. I got bullied a lot internally by family members, by friends, and some of it was jealousy, and I didn't know that. I hear about it later from some of my friends and some of my past friends and people I looked up to. Is either I had more toys than them, or I had more food on my table, or whatever, because there are some family members that I have that don't have anything. They have little to nothing. They've been in Section 8. They have all these things, which we had our sections of those through life. But yeah, so for me, it was getting my light dimmed a lot in a lot of ways and not realizing that that was what was going on. I would blame myself. I thought I was just burdened with being a bad kid or whatever, and so for me it was understanding that I've lit up plenty of rooms, and it's just been my energy over the years too. It's not necessarily just something I do, it's something that certain people embody. And over the last few years, it's been way more of a calling and way more of a feeling. And looking back, I can visually see it more often. So yeah, that was one of the hardest things for me, is like to realize that I do have a certain amount of energy, and sometimes, and a lot of the time, unhappy people are only mirroring themselves, and it's not that you are a terrible person, this, that, or the other. It could also mean that you shine more light on people and situations, and other people kind of want to dim that sometimes. Or there was times where I was an asshole too. So I just got to throw that out there. It wasn't all that, but so.
Do you believe adversity builds character or simply reveals it?
I think adversity can both build character or reveal it, because building the strongest and most capable individual possible in a comfort blanket society, you have to face adversity, which shows you your weaknesses and once again shines light in the dark areas of your shadow as an individual and your life. So that two things can happen. You can either adapt and comprehend and have the awareness that you do have these weak points, and build the strength to handle the adversity, the trials and tribulations, or you can ask for strength and let the heavier weights crush you. And sometimes we have both. Every day is not, there's no perfect, we don't have a perfect day. We strive for feelings through this life. But I think the trials and tribulations of life and adversity are a must if you're trying to be the best version of yourself that you can ever create. And I think most people should strive for that. Creating purpose and resilience and things like that, it's always going to come from really hard days. So you're not going to ever build the best sculpture of your life or the best version of yourself when you're always on what's the definition? It's hard to become a world champion when you're in silk sheets. I think that's right, when you're sleeping in silk sheets. So yes, we need adversity, we need trials and tribulations, and life doesn't get easier, you just get stronger.
Is there a truth you avoided until it became unavoidable?
Yes, I'm a stubborn individual, and for a majority of my life, I have leaned back on caffeine, substances, alcohol, toxic friendships or relationships. I think that growing up as an individual, it's far easier to lean on your bad habits than it is to strive for your healthier habits. So the truth, I would say, I mostly avoided before it came unavoidable, was learning how to adapt to shadow work, and knowing that perfection, because I've been such a perfectionist my whole life up until the last few years, that perfection is an illusion. And so the biggest one truth is for me that you can't always trust your thoughts. Your ego, or what Eckhart Tolle, or Tolle, depending on the way you want to say his name, he talks about as this pain body. And I mentioned it with Chip in the last podcast. You can't always trust your thoughts. Like you should trust your intuition, your heart, things like that. But what the voices in your head sometimes don't always have your best interest in mind. So being able to know the difference and navigate those waters, I think is a big thing. So for me, it was realizing that sometimes the voice in your head doesn't always have your best interest, and being able to navigate the waters and learning how to handle shadow work. If you're not capable of looking into the shadows, you're always going to end up right back where you started, and those cycles are going to repeat themselves.
It's not on the list, but let's do like a word of encouragement. So, for someone that's maybe listening that's going through a painful or struggling time in their life, do you have any words of encouragement to get them through that season?
Words of encouragement getting through a hard situation. We were actually talking about this last night at an event, and I think this year specifically, there was a lot of contrasts in life, and just know that I base it off of being lonely. Like that, you think and we think as individuals, we're probably the only one going through a situation. Just know that there are other people struggling too, and to always reach out and maybe talk about it, internalizing a lot of the struggle, but also having the awareness to not stay in the trenches constantly. Know that life is going to be peaks and valleys, and to not try to chase the feeling as much. But if you are struggling, and we all do, it's being able to reach out to somebody that cares, and just know that somebody's always going to want to listen to your problems and issues, rather than you doing something irrational, or do something in the moment that'll limit your life on this world. But I will say, look for talk to professionals too, and make sure it's somebody that doesn't always you. So I've had therapists that were more of like turned into like fans and friends. You want somebody that has like almost like a polar opposite, or can call you out on your bullshit. I would say you need people that are real with you. You can't always surround yourself with yes men or yes women. And if you aren't feeling well, but you're consuming a lot of caffeine, you're not getting good sleep, you don't use electrolytes and hydrate properly, I would also start there. Look at what you're eating, look at your environmental factors, look at what you're consuming on television, what you're consuming on a daily basis. If you can start there, other than asking for help, there's small changes in learning how to have self-awareness. It's what you're consuming as well, whether it's emotional, spiritual, or physical. Look into those different factors too, and those can play a huge part. For me, I felt like I've had a cloud over my head the last 2 days, and I didn't wake up feeling the best this morning. You can have some intrusive thoughts. You can have some interesting perspectives. I know it's easy to think that people on the other side of a camera have a big social media following, or this, that, and the other, that are in good shape, or whatever it is they're doing. You only see on social media the best side of people, or the side that they want to promote. So just know that, like for me, myself, the last 2 days I woke up, I didn't feel the best. It's easy to not go to the gym. It's easy not to show up for podcasts. It's easy when a guest has to cancel to want to cancel too. But with all that being said, for me, I realized I have to look into my environmental factors, and I didn't sleep the best. I could have canceled on something last night. I didn't. It was impactful, but it was a later night, another late night. So late nights in a row, not the best sleep. You can have alcohol, caffeine, substances, different things within your day or your week, bad food, fast food. All of these can impact your mental state too. So just know it's going to be a combination of what you feed yourself, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So those are my words of wisdom. Just have some self-awareness, but also reach out to make sure that you have some people there. And there's always going to be somebody in your corner. Even here now, if you're listening to this, you're a guest, you can find me on social media. You have a bad day, reach out to me. I'd much rather answer your DM, see how if I can help, or give you some options, rather than just you feeling alone in the corner. Just know there's people out there that care, even if they don't know you personally yet.
Sweet. The next segment we're going to lead into is titled Purpose, Meaning, and Direction. Do you believe purpose is discovered, chosen, or constructed?
I think that it might be a combination of all of them. Anybody that has purpose, you will see and hear some successful people that said things just fell into line. But I think you have to either. I don't necessarily think you're born into greatness. Everybody has to work hard, and then you have to choose the path. You got to know when to say no and when to say yes to situations, and you got to build the person necessary to be successful in those it, when you're on the journey for purpose. I think purpose is the same with like being ready. It's a choice. It's not a feeling. Although you can have a feeling throughout the your journey, that knowing to lean left or right. But at the end of the day, motivation's an illusion. Building the person necessary to become the greatest version of yourself, or to create a purpose. Yeah, a lot of that is through trials and tribulations. Going back on our earlier question, I think you have to build that individual. Some of it's faith, and some of it is divine timing. Some of it is you're in the right place at the right time. But if you're consistently doing the work, it doesn't matter how long you're sitting at your house, you're not going to fucking manifest your life without any hard work. And sometimes you just need hard work, grit, and a lot of trials and tribulations to help develop the purpose. But everybody has their own path. Everybody signed their own soul contract. So it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. My perspective and my reality might be a little different than those sitting at home with kids. But I would say, I think you can have multiple versions of a purpose too. Like you need a source of creativity and flow, and then you could be a purposeful parent. But you can also have purpose as an individual in your life too. Because I think some people get so stuck in one direction of their life. You're a multifaceted individual and being on this world. So you can have driven purpose at your church. You can have driven purpose for your kids. You can have driven purpose for work or for creative flow or building a business or any of these things. And although they intersect and cross paths, sometimes they're a little separate, and that's okay too.
Do you feel a sense of responsibility towards your own potential?
Yes. I realize, if you're not the superhero in your own life, there's a lot of the times no one's coming to save you. And it's easy to have a support system. In this day and age, though, unfortunately, some people don't realize they're energy vampires in some aspects. So like everybody's there when you're doing your best, and then you'll notice a lot of people can start fading away when things go sour. So, not saying that in every aspect. There's a lot of good people out there that'll stick through you through thick and thin. But you have to build, like we're going back to, you have to build the individual, you have to build the skill sets, and you have to build the mental resilience to be able to handle anything in your own life. And you can get support from other people, but overall I think it's you have to save yourself in this reality. You come into this world by yourself, and you're going to leave this world by yourself. You have to be able to handle solo days and a solo journey along the journey of being able to build friendships and family and everything else under the sun.
What feels worth sacrificing comfort for?
Everything feels like it's worth it sacrificing comfort for. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, there should be downtime and there should be relaxation, but over the last 2 years, giving up certain levels of discipline, you can be too disciplined too. You can be too disciplined and have too much fire, and it's chaotic. But I think comfort is destruction of purpose. It can be destruction of success, and it can be destruction of the discipline that takes years to create. Being able to navigate those waters of like having comfortable moments, but not living an overall comfortable lifestyle. Because I think a lot of people lose their train of thought, lose their purpose, and lose their creative flow when they're too comfortable. So I would say finding a balance. I would say maybe like work up to an 80-20 rule. You're 80% disciplined and you have 20% comfort. It's one thing to have the comfortability of not having to check your bank account any day of the year. Not saying to not understand your bank account, but it's a good feeling to not have to check your bank account and know that you're always going to have enough money in the bank. That's a different kind of comfort than sitting on the couch day after day because you're sad and you don't want to go to the gym and you don't want to get judged and you don't want to have all these situations and things happen. Because you can be a victim of your thoughts, and becoming a victim of your thoughts is a level of comfort that is very self-destructive. So it has to be a combination of both. you need to find balance, and maybe somebody's balance is 70-30, but you can't have the illusion of comfort. This because we live in a society that's very comfortable, but at the same time, it's an illusion because bad things can happen. You just got to be ready for most situations.
Awesome. We're going to get into the next segment titled Time, Mortality, and Legacy. What does a life well lived actually mean to you?
A life well lived, going back to purpose, is I think it's Tom. Tom, what's his last name? He's the guy that created Quest, the Quest supplement line. And but basically what he talks about is an older theory or archetypal style. What's the term I'm looking for? We just say it's like a metaphor. But he talks about like heaven and hell, and when you show up at hell's door, you see the person that you had the potential of becoming, but instead you were the version of yourself that probably got stuck in comfort and weren't able to scale to the levels of that individual that you could have been, your potential. And then if you get to heaven's door, you realize that you were that person that was the highest potential of yourself, and you ended up living out the best version of your life. So the life well lived, it's just working as hard as you can for the right reasons. It's living beyond just yourself. It's not letting yourself get trapped in social norms. And there's nothing wrong with the family, the white picket fence and things like that, but it's being able to think for yourself and not getting stuck in the cogs of the matrix here in this reality. It's being able to like be the individual that can go dance at a party and not feel judged. It's being a genuine individual and just like being able to power through hard situations and having strength, and being an individual that can help others, that has a big heart. It's like I said, being able to dance at parties, because I used to be intimidated by that kind of stuff. Being able to go on in front of a camera and try to be authentic to your audience and be authentic to yourself. Being able to paint, being able to have fun doing jujitsu, being scared and having fear in your life, but not letting it run your life. Being able to show up for friends, being able to think outside the box. So for me, it's like creating the individual that you most admire and translating it and transmuting it through your own existence for eons, building something that's being able to build financial freedom for yourself and your kids and everybody else, and not being too self-centered through life, and showing up for yourself and other people.
How has your relationship with time changed as you've aged?
Time moves a lot quicker when you get further and further away from single digits in your life. I know early on in kindergarten and middle school, high school through or I should say elementary school through middle school. Yeah, time feels so long, but the longer you live, the more you get away from, I feel like the faster time goes, because you're getting closer to the other side of the clock, and every year you live, time speeds up a little bit. So for me, it's from an early age, I used to give myself and my buddy high fives for every year we lived. We lived a super chaotic, crazy life, so I was surprised I made it to 18, honestly. And so we would, like, man, when I was 16, I used to ride on the top of the roof of cars at 100 miles an hour, where people are holding onto my arms through the doors, and like the CKYs, the jackasses, the this, that, and the other, being shot at and stabbed and all these things throughout my before I was even 21. So for me, time has moved a lot quicker. And there's always the individuals too that are like, I'll get to that tomorrow. Just know that there's not always a tomorrow. And I've seen a lot of death throughout my lifetime, a lot of friends, a lot of family members, more than most people should ever see, I think. And you realize that time isn't there for everybody. So for me, I went from not knowing when I was going to end up punching that clock for the last time to realizing I might be here for a while. So time, I have a better relationship with time now. I will say it's hard with social media and some things, because you can create a lot of busy work, or there's a lot of distractions. So being present in the daily life, and realizing that time's a lot shorter than you think, but you might be around a lot longer than you know. And maybe your purpose is here not just to go for these short dopamine hits and these filming jackass stuff when you're a kid. It's being able to prioritize life a lot better and make sure that each day you wake up and you can structure your day to know that you can accomplish the most that you want out of the day. So for me, time is a lot more precious than it ever was. Like I said, we used to give high fives from teenage to 18, 19, 20, 21. And there was a lot of times that I was not grateful for the life that I had and for the days that I woke up for, because not everybody wakes up in the morning. So for me, time is a lot more precious, and I try to do a lot more throughout my days moving forward. So just being able to navigate and direct time as a much more precious thing and know eventually that time's going to run out. So just make sure you're being present throughout the day and you enjoy your time on this earth.
What would future you think present you for doing right now?
It's interesting because I think for a lot of us, if we lean too deep in the past, something I've been doing more often now is not like the what ifs of what could have been. It's me thinking of what my future self would be happy with what I'm doing now. So for me, it's actually doing these podcasts and becoming the individual and learning the skills necessary to make sure that you're benefiting your future self. There's a good amount of us out here that can only see the stressors of today, and they make some bad choices that aren't going to benefit them for tomorrow. So for me, it's making sure I make more healthy choices, not only for myself today, but for myself in the future. So you're not just navigating what's happening today, tomorrow, or this week. You're thinking of who you are going to be in the next 10 years. So for me, for right now, it's not being so rough on my body, not taking so many tournaments, not taking so many days, and easing up a little bit, or being more self-aware of not like blasting through every workout or jujitsu class. And it's okay to skip things once in a while, because I had a bulging disc in my neck that's healing. It's been like that for like 6 months. And a younger version of me just would have pushed through the pain and see what would happen. But now I'll be 37 in March, and I realize I'm like, man, I want to be a healthy 40 or 50-year-old. I want to be able to move like this in my 50s. So for me, I've been able to navigate not lifting as heavy and not being as compulsive with my day-to-day life as I used to be. Not so much a bull in a china shop. I'm moving through life and energetically a little bit more methodically. So I'm able to navigate the waters a little healthier with where my body's going to be in the next 30 years. Or in my brain, like they're not getting hit as much, and not doing these silly things, taking more supplements and things like that that are going to help with brain health and help with mitochondrial function and cellular health into my 40s, 50s, and 60s, hopefully 70s.
Transitions well into truth, ethics, and society. The first question is, where do you think modern culture is quietly lying to people?
I think modern culture and through our society in general, through our consumerism and everything else, people have too much trust in the wrong individuals in the wrong parts of the government and are these wrong pillars of society that are sitting behind the I guess the string holders or the puppets of society. And what happens is it goes back into you're like for at least we'll say till 1975 to 85, other than the industrial complex and our government side of things when it comes to like all the propaganda and bullshit from our military and our like false flag wars and things like that. I know that's the past. We're talking about the present, but a lot of people don't realize all the psychological warfare that's going on, the propaganda, the fear mongering, who's supporting and funding all of our research and things like that. It's most of the time it's all with the same people. Like it doesn't matter what government it is. In the background, there's we probably have like four pillars of very very elite, you could call them, individuals. So I think if more people could learn to think outside the box and have more self-awareness and realize that we've just been stuck in these interesting social norms that have been constructed in the psychological, industrial conveyor belt that we've been fed, especially with social media and everything. It's so much easier to fall victim to these narratives and these false flags and all this fear propaganda. So for me, I would say just really dig deep and look to see where some of these narratives are coming from in life and to learn to think for yourself. And in that process, to make sure to eat and drink more healthy alternatives and not so much soda and all this processed food, because that's not going to make you think that well. People want to lean on SSRIs and all these things, and it's hard to think rationally when your brain's not producing the right neurochemicals, and you're not feeding your soul and your body the right things. So it goes back into like, look at your environmental factors and learn to think for yourself and to do a lot more research and look where the research is coming from.
He might have just answered this. So the next question, if you want to add anything, if not, we'll skip it. The next question is, what truth feels dangerous to say out loud, but important to state anyways?
So what truth is something to say out loud? It's like, I think a big one is tribalism, because we all have it. A big truth outside is we're all tribal beings. We're pleasure monkeys without tails. So leaning more into that is everything we have. It doesn't matter if it's sports teams, like all sports teams, like different brands of motorcycles, jewelers, like clothing companies. Like there's always people that want to fit into a box, because we all want to feel fit in, or we all want to fit in one aspect or another. It's even like people that take pride in not believing in anything. You're still believing in the fact that you believe in nothing. So just it's the tribalism aspect. We all fall victim to it. We all end up in some sort of tribal aspect throughout our life. So it's learning to come together rather than finding ways to separate us as individuals. I think that's a big one.
Do you think people are more afraid of failure or responsibility?
I think people are more afraid to admit to themselves they're scared to do the work. It's the responsibility that comes with the work. That's why a lot of people lean into like, the what ifs of the past, so they don't have to do the work now. They wanted the work to be done, and that's why they say, oh, if I would have done this back then this would have happened. It's because we're intimidated by doing the work now, and the work is scary. So it's a combination of fear, and then it's a combination of not taking responsibility and accountability for who you are and what you stand for and where you're trying to go in life. So I think the fear is cultivated by not wanting to be accountable, not wanting to do the work, and not wanting to take responsibility for the situation.
Is there anything you believe we're outsourcing that we shouldn't be?
Outsourcing that we shouldn't be. Could I say our government? Is that one? Or we're outsourcing because like taxes and things like that. I think we're outsourcing this idea that we have this governmental factor that is saving our lives, and in reality it's just we're paying for our own shackles. The government is not 1776 anymore. It's not these individuals that actually want freedom and they want to help. So I think our infrastructure is collapsing rapidly, and we're paying to have it collapse, and a lot of our money and different things are going to a lot of other areas that we're not paying for. And then we get taxed for tax. We get taxed on taxing and get taxed further. So for me, I would say it has to do with our government and our infrastructure.
I think we could do a whole episode just on that topic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Next segment. Inner world and awareness. What emotion do you sit with least comfortably?
I sit with the emotions of my ego least comfortably, because I have had a very big ego a majority of my life, and it's because I was a hurt child that I didn't learn how to heal. So I would say that the stories that my ego or my pain body create for me, I have to watch and have self-awareness to realize that that's not the wolf that I constantly need to feed. Like even yesterday I caught myself, but now I have the self-awareness to be like, no, no, no. You have a lack of sleep, sir, and that's why these voices are coming up. So I think a lot of people get stuck in these negative narratives, these negative cycles, these spirals. It's because they're not realized that the way I describe it is so say if you know two languages, or say if you understand like different voices. So like say if we have coaches and you have like Joel was talking about, I pointed to Joel like he's sitting next to me right now. You have to listen to the voices that you have going on. Hopefully it's only two, but maybe some people have more. But you have to like think of what voice is going on inside of you and make sure that you're not listening to the wrong one. So like there are individuals that are bilingual, and sometimes if you stop speaking one language for too long, it's hard to understand it again. And I would say that just make sure that you can listen to your higher self, or that positive, the intuition that has the best outlook for you and internally.
How do you know when you're acting from intuition versus fear?
Which that's a good one to play into this one. I would say in the last 5 years, I've been acting more on intuition. I think it's a gut feeling. For you can tell if it's fear or compulsion. I think for me too, it's like the way I answer. Like, see how if I'm slowing down now before I could speed up. I think it's for me, it's like a feeling. You could see where how quickly you respond to it. If it's out of fear, usually for me, it's a very quick answer. It's not as well thought out. And I would say it's more of a fire and water feeling. Like I feel like I'm activating more off of fire when it comes to fear, my ego, and then it's more of like a rush of water when it comes to my intuition. And usually the outcome you've noticed really quick if it's one or the other. And I would say usually when people act out of fear, there's a shame cycle that follows. And when you act out of intuition, it's more of a calming parasympathetic state. So like for me, my acting out of fear, you could tell maybe it's hard for some people to understand when they're in fight or flight, but I can feel the fight or flight rather than the rest and digest. So we have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system. We need both. But yeah, for me, it's navigating the waters and taking a little bit more time to answer the question or address the situation. So like feeling that self-awareness usually comes from the intuition.
When do you feel mentally strongest?
I feel mentally strongest when I wake up, I do breath work, I hydrate properly, I have my successful morning routine. Um, and then I'm able to accomplish way more throughout the day. I don't get on social media. I'm not looking at I'm not looking to find external validation. And it's not just I wouldn't say it's just condition. It's not like a conditional love basis. It's not just by how many tasks I accomplish throughout the day. It's navigating the waters that you're leaning towards your greatest success. So you do everything throughout the day to in the most successful manner you can, and like you're leaning towards the most successful version of yourself. So you're doing everything possible to lean into your purpose, because in a life of distractions, it's real easy to fall off kilter throughout the day. So being able to maintain and navigate those waters and fly that ship through warp speed without hitting any crazy turbulence.
Yeah, the next segment's titled Wisdom and Perspective. What advice do you hear often that you quietly disagree with?
It's this fucking grind culture, to be honest. I think a lot of people, don't get me wrong, if you can grind and you can have 4 hours of sleep and you don't need to have a gram of caffeine, and it's not going to make you cheat on your wife or do all these other things that you blow through the holes. But that's one of the biggest ones, is like learning how to have a flow state. But there's a lot of these coaches, there's a lot of people out here that live this false narrative constantly. They talk about grinding and doing all these things, and you see all these people that try to keep up with it or try to live their own version of that, and they grind the material down and they end up depressed. They end up on too much caffeine. They're not eating well. They're doing things for the sake of like this idea of success, but then they burn so many bridges. They burn all these things out of their life. So I think for me, it's like re-navigating and learning how to be more of this self-aware individual. And it's okay to grind, but just remember to learn how to tap into the flow state, so you're not relying on caffeine and porn and all these different things to get the job done. I guess there's this fake it till you make it culture, and it's just not what it should be. There's a lot of people living these really fake lives, and I think that's the biggest thing that irritates me, is you see all these influencers and different people living these bougie lives that aren't real. And then so you have all these other kids and people out there that see this and they want to create this version of this, but then they fall deeper and deeper into these falsities and these negative fake illusionary lives and illusionary archetypes that these people put out there. So just like it's like a I wouldn't say an evil wizard, but it's just these wizards casting these and witches casting these weird spells out there. So it's really catastrophic for the kids growing up to realize that a lot of this stuff out here, it just makes people more materialistic. It makes people more distant, and I think it's crushing a lot of our society for individuals, kids, and people. That although the influencer lifestyle does has its perks and stuff like that, but they're the grind culture and this illusionary lifestyle and all these spells being cast on our kids and friends and family members. It just it's heartbreaking because people aren't living altruistic and they're not living genuine lives. It's a lot of like this false lifestyle and these gimmicks and things like that. So I think if more people could be more genuine to who they really are and like show their all sides of life instead of just like this influencer character they play, I think life would be a lot better off.
Is there a question you wish more people would ask themselves?
A question that I think more people should ask themselves is, who am I and who do I want to be? Like, am I that person that I'm truly, and how can I get there? So it's like, who am I and how can I get there? I think if more people could ask those self questions, then they would be able to create the purpose that they were hoping to create their life.
If you could remove one illusion from society, what would it be?
Wow, I think I was getting into that one. It's the illusion of this, like it's the fake it till you make it. It's one thing to create the steps necessary and start to live the environment, starting to create the environment and to start becoming this person that you want to create. But in these 15-second short frame clips and things like that, people can create these false narratives and become these false people. Like it's real easy to fall into those areas for people or just only see that thing. So like that's what I would like to eliminate is like these people that aren't genuine. Just learn how to become your genuine self and stop casting these weird false spells out there of like these characters that people play. Like it's okay in the movies and stuff like that, and it's okay if you're doing skits, but if you're just constantly living behind the shadow of this illusion you create for yourself, it's just not healthy for yourself and anybody else watching.
Okay, the last segment is titled Integration and Becoming. What does strength look like now compared to earlier in your life?
I used to think strength was being able to beat anybody up in the room, only having physical strength. So what I think is a strong individual is somebody that can handle themselves in a situation, or also saying, oh, this situation might be a little hard for me, and asking for help. So being able to, like I said, being able to be the man that can choke somebody unconscious, or the woman, or whatever that wants to be. I'll just paint it off of the men for right now because that's all I know how to understand for me as an individual. But being the man that can choke somebody out in the situation, or be able to protect people, your family, your friends, a stranger, an old lady walking down the street, and actually be able to stand up to bullies and be in harsh situations, but also being the man that can start a fire without matches, being able to build something with your hands, and being able to create something through creative flow, but also being the person that gets compliment. Not saying you need a compliment. Let me rephrase that. Being somebody that's a good hugger, a listener, not always talking. You know, it's being able to listen and to be able to help people through situations, being able to build stuff with your hands or be creative, and not letting fear run your life, and losing your insecurities, and learning how to be a genuine individual individual that gives back to society rather than constantly takes from society.
What does mastery mean beyond skill?
Mastery beyond skill, I would say a lot of people look at skills and identify themselves behind them. So the mastery beyond skill is knowing you're much more than the skill sets you have. I guess that could almost be hypocritical about what I was just talking about. But mastery is mastering oneself and mastering and understanding that we're not always in control of our life. Things happen, and being aware that regardless of who and what you are, that things are going to happen regardless. But mastery to me is being able to navigate any waters with or without a compass, meaning that when shit hits the fan, you can clean off the fan and plug it back in again, and it's still going to work for you. Being able to, like, if you look at Homer's Odyssey, he got put through the ringer in a lot of situations, but he still learned how to make it back home. It's like having their grit and resilience and the strength, the mental fortitude. Doesn't just have to be physical strength to be able to navigate a lot of waters, and also having the resilience to handle choppy waters.
Okay, Justin, final question. What truth about yourself do you want to carry forward into the rest of your life?
That we're enough. Like, regardless of where you are, what you accomplished, you got to understand you're a single sperm cell that ends up bonding to an egg. Like, just know you're enough. Where you are right now, love yourself unconditionally. And when you can learn to love yourself unconditionally, purpose will happen. But love yourself right now. There's no better day than today. And I'm saying that to myself and other individuals. Just know that you're worth it in this life, and so am I. So just learning and having and developing self-worth and self-love, it's such an underrated thing in this world. And then it's going to help with success along your life. You'll have more self-confidence. You'll realizing that you can handle a lot more in this life when you unconditionally love yourself. So for me, it's having more unconditional love. And then in closing, just remember that if you ever have a hard day, you ever feel like you have a cloud over you, feel backed into a corner, we got to get out of our heads and into our hearts. But please reach out. Just know that there's somebody out there that loves and cares for you. You ever have a bad situation, find my DMs. My main account is The Elevated Jedi, and I would love to talk to each and every one of you. Just know there's people out there. Have a great day, everybody.